Charlie Kirk assassination now has two stories. The official one and the one nobody in power wants you to talk about. Candace Owens just pulled the curtain back, but I want to take it a step further because when you zoom out, the patterns we've seen before are starting to show up again.
So I don't know what the hell Cashapp Patel and our government's going to do, but Candace is on an absolute ripper, calling out that it's a military operation, calling out that Tyler wasn't on the roof, that he didn't take that shot, that he was involved in this, that he was dumping clothing, that this has a full intelligence, full-scale military operation written all over it. And she's finally saying the exact same shit that we're all thinking, we're all feeling. Cashapp Patel is balls deep in this cover-up. Our FBI's involved in it, our military's involved in it, and there's foreign intelligence involved in it. We can all feel it. Shit stinks to high heaven, and this is why I keep warning everybody that a false flag attack is imminent, guaranteed to take place on our government, on USA soil right now. The size of the cover-up that they're going to need to make this go away and go slide under the rug is going to be so monumental. I don't think we can even wrap our heads around it. You need to check this clip out.
Working through a ton of the tips related to what happened. But I want to tell you that I actually believe that this was a military hit that involved foreign actors and also literal actors. I believe that that day ran something akin to JFK's assassination. I believe that there were therefore multiple decoys on the ground. I do not believe, just so I'm clear here, that the person who was walking up the stairs killed Charlie. In fact, my suspicion is that that photo was not even shot on the same day. I do not believe that the person who ran across Losey rooftop killed Charlie. I think that was another decoy. I do not believe that shot came from a Losey Center at all. And we all know that decoy George Zinn didn't kill Charlie. And I received an interesting tip about him as well, that he's much more connected than what meets the surface. He potentially has connections to the federal department, familial connections to the federal department, and we are prodding that. It's getting interesting. Anyway, that would suggest that there are thus a total of 4 decoys, like George Zinn, staircase guy, maroon shirt guy, and Losey Center guy, none of which I believe actually pulled the trigger. Call it a hunch. I think it's much more likely that Lance Twiggs is the one that is walking in that maroon shirt. His build is nothing like Tyler Robinson's build. Lance Twiggs is thinner. And obviously I'm speculating here, but I believe Tyler Robinson was involved, and he was in fact driving around campus on that day, therefore assisting in the costume changes, likely picking up clothing. And as we broke the story, Tyler was seen at Dairy Queen. And what was he seen doing, as I told you? Dumping clothing in the cemetery beside that Dairy Queen. So I think that is what his involvement is limited to. That was his job, to get rid of clothing. It's completely a nonsense to think that a person who had never killed anyone was high on adrenaline after a kill and decided to eat Dairy Queen. That doesn't even make sense biologically speaking. There was going to be an adrenaline measure that kicks in after you kill animal, let alone a person, let alone having it be your first kill. And you're like, he just decided to go to DQ, sit down, write some poetic text messages. It's why they are freaking out about that Dairy Queen leak, because it disrupts their narrative. One of many things that disrupt.
Now, Ryan Matter posted with this. Candace finally said what we're all thinking. This was a professional assassination that involved multiple intelligence agencies. What the hell is the FBI hiding from us? I mean, I'll say that's a right question, right? And because when the Bureau stays silent, history tells us it's never because they're protecting the people. It's because they're protecting themselves. Now, let's look at what Candace laid out, and I'll tell you why it matters even more than she admits.
On the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination, immediately George Zinn gets up and says, I did it. And he kind of gets dragged. Well, apparently George Zinn had to receive medical treatment following that little fracas. And he told multiple nurses and doctors that he did it because he was being paid to do it. He said he had not been paid yet, but he was going to receive payment. He didn't know from who. That's interesting. Decoy boy told medical staff Apparently he was just singing, just telling everybody who would listen that he did it because payment was going to be promised to him if he did do it. What does that tell us? We should definitely dig into George Zinn. We should definitely try to confirm this relatively strong tip that he has connections to the feds, because it would be very interesting if the feds were going to pay George Zinn. I'm not saying they are, but yeah, why wouldn't he know? I mean, make that make sense. Why wouldn't George Zinn know where the payment was coming from?
George Zinn said he was getting paid. That statement matters. If someone admits they were paid, even for a second, it destroys the lone wolf narrative. Think about it. Real lone shooters don't talk about payroll. That's why this one detail turns the whole story into something bigger than crazy guy with a gun. It raises questions. Who funds? Who directs? Who benefits?
Charlie was loyal to people that he had shared history with, right? He was asked, I think this may be what you were about to say, Blake. He was asked about Candace before in public, and he would always say, listen, we're friends. He would never say an ill word about her. And if people, tried to force him to do that about Tucker or whatever, he would always be defiant because he didn't want to be morally blackmailed.
Exactly. Charlie was loyal to people who had ever been friends to him, whether it was very old donors or just people who had worked with Turning Point.
Yep.
And as long as they were not attacking him, he would not air any dirty laundry or, frankly, any disagreements he had with people. He did disagree with Candace on the Israel issue. He disagreed with Tucker on the Israel issue. But he also recognized Tucker had positions they agreed on. Tucker was a useful voice in the conservative movement on many things. And so he invited him to events, and they were popular events. And so he would react. Sometimes people would just say, yeah, don't invite him or we're going to, cut off some large donation. And that would make him angry. He would say this, yeah, as you say, this is moral blackmail. And he's this Scottish guy. He's combative. His reaction to that is, the classic screw me, no, screw you, that sort of thing.
He had this, and it's one of my favorite parts about Charlie is just how defiant and independent he was.
Yeah,
he was never going to
be... He could not be controlled by other people.
You could not buy him. He was not bought and paid for. You could not control him with money. It just wasn't the way he was wired. He didn't actually care about money that much.
And so what's going on here? What is going on here? You guys can look up what the text say. What is going on is Charlie, as I mentioned, he loved Israel. He cared about Israel. He cared about the Holy Land. And he was aware there was a surge of anti-Israel sentiment on the right. Charlie thought seriously about this issue and was trying to chart a path forward for people who were sympathetic to Israel. He was playing the good cop here. He was saying, you guys don't realize how bad it could potentially get. Mm-hmm. You have to change your PR. That's why he writes a letter to Bibi. You are losing the PR war. You need to change how you do your PR. You need to change your messaging to the American right. You might need to change what you expect from us, that you're not going to be able to count on just, for example, unlimited military aid from America. That's just not going to be tenable going forward. So maybe it has to be a more passive relationship. Maybe you need to give more support towards America. Some more support towards America in, for example, opposing Islamic migration into America. That's one thing he thought we could ally on. And he was trying to do all of this because he cared about the relationship and wanted to chart a way forward on it. And he would feel angry and upset when people would react to this by blowing up and suggesting he was an anti-Semite or a hater. He would get angry about that because he knew it was untrue. And then he would sometimes vent about this. Yeah. He would vent about this to people who understood that, who were pro-Israel people who shared his view on that issue.
Well, exactly. And just why I, didn't share this publicly, it was because this was a private message between Charlie and some people, some Jews and non-Jews, where he was, frustrated. He was frustrated. And that would have felt like a betrayal to my friend because he never said anything like that publicly in a show, right? He said things with Megan that were very, we just played them. I went on Alex Clark's show and I felt like I did a faithful job of expressing what I believed his genuine feelings were.
Now, TPUSA confirms Kirk's text and letter to Netanyahu. This is the part that burns through the noise. Charlie wasn't just a target in the streets. He was a target in the boardrooms. Those texts prove tension with donors in foreign circles. And in politics, where money and influence collide, silence is currency. If you don't connect those dots, You're pretending not to see the picture. Now, let's talk about this dream of Candace Owens.
Like I just said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed. And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that. And it was the immediate sense I got, actually. And I don't know who exactly it is that betrayed him, but I also felt in the dream that it is soon going to be revealed, that it's actually inevitable that it is going to be revealed, that there is nothing and no one that is going to stop the truth from coming out, and it is going to have international consequences. Take that to the bank. Quote me on that. Women tend to have a strong, like I just said.
Now, people clown the dream, but I focus more on the word betrayal. Every major takedown in history has betrayal sitting at the center of it. And it's never about the dreamer. It's about the system around them. What she called betrayal, history calls precedent. But, unfortunately, Candace Owens basically had to put out a digital life insurance policy.
That I went ahead this week and sent around a life insurance policy of sorts, a package rather, to people that I trust, a package filled with text messages, emails, private communications, videos, and private legal documents. So that if anything happens to me, you guys will know exactly who it is that has been making my life a living hell over the past couple of years. People that are trying to bankrupt me, trying to bankrupt me and my family, that are threatening us to sue us. Everything that Kanye said was so real, okay? I'm now at that point where you look back and you go, man, Kanye was right. He was really saying something about what it takes to leave, to fight for custody of your own soul. Just leave me alone. Let me say what I believe and you say what you believe. Fight fair. Why do you always have to make this threat to bankrupt people? And I want you to know that those people, if anything happens to me, they have my explicit permission to release it all, detonate it all, expose all of these people in politics and in the movement who behave like this behind the scenes. It's necessary. And I highly recommend every single person that is out there that has a platform and is going through things and is scared, do the same. Send everything around to about 8 people that you trust. And I mean, I've ranged it. I sent it to journalists, text messages and screenshots to people ranging from Max Blumenthal to Andrew Tate. They won't know where it's coming from.
She said she's already handed files to trusted allies, and if anything happens to her, everything could be released. This is a dead man switch, and people only build those when they know they're poking giants. Here's the deeper truth, though. If this really was just one man with a gun, you wouldn't see decoys. You wouldn't see donor friction or contingency files. You see a mugshot, a wrap-up, and that'd be it. Instead, we're seeing silence. And silence always tells the loudest stories. If you made it to the end of the video, put eyebrows up. Because that's basically where I'm at with it right now. Y'all be safe. And also to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.